And I'm pretty sure that means we're live. Hi, everybody. Sorry, we are 3 minutes late. The Zoom decided to not work, so we just made a new one, and now we're back. Hi. And yes, we are live on Facebook. So I'm also our tech team tonight, Zach Robinson, the artistic and community relations manager. So if you have any questions, I am also monitoring the chat on Facebook. So if you have any questions, at the end of when I'm done with questions, I will open the floor to any of you in the live chat. So if you have any questions for Rebecca, speaking of, welcome to the talkback with Rebecca Ware, the director of Mongrel by Adam Tran. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. I've loved working on this piece, so any chance I get to talk about it is like a great time.
Amazing. We're glad to have you. And this is, of course, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a Play Underground live stream, otherwise known as Pug. And that series is brought to you by Joe Mock and the Real Pro Team. And as we do with every single Play Underground live stream, here's to you, Joe. If you have a drink with you and are ready, go ahead and cheers to Joe. Thanks, Joe.
Cheers.
Like I said, we have Rebecca. And before we jump into all of the other questions tonight, could you tell us a little bit about the show? Give us a pitch.
Sure, yeah. I think the briefest version of this is probably that Mongrel is a play that explores mixed race identity and Asian diasporic masculinity and some of the stereotypes that might surround that through the lens of the legend of Genghis Khan.
Gotcha. Awesome. And for those of you that are tuning in randomly to this, it is also going on through the end of this weekend. And you can get your tickets at notheater.com on a sliding scale starting at just $15. Or if you really, really love us, you can give us $35. We appreciate it so much. So, Rebecca, you had a very hands-on process with the script, helping Adam to find the right words for everything. What was that collaborative process like?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So Adam is a first-time playwright, and so it was great because he was just really open, and he's an amazing performer, and he has he's performed a lot, he's obviously acted a lot, and so he has a lot of really great instincts. So for us, I think the process was a lot about figuring out how to translate those instincts into language. And then was sort of me like dramaturgically reflecting back at him, being like, okay, tell me what you want to do with this part of the show. Okay, cool. Let me tell you what I'm getting from this part of the show. And then if there was like a disparity between those things, which, is like the writing process, of course, the development process, then it's about sort of figuring out kind of how to bridge that gap. But I mean, it was amazing. It's like Adam actually said to me at one point, he was like, I really like working with you because every time I have an idea and then keep it to myself because I think it's so stupid, like sometimes you will say that idea and suggest it. And I was like, perfect.
So you all really connected like on a same like brain wavelength on this one.
Yes, on like a brain wavelength level, and also on the idea that I think like no suggestion is like off the table, and so that's like a phrase that I like to try and bring in with playwrights sometimes, is like, so here's like the not great version of this idea because I know I'm not a playwright, and then they'll like take it and hopefully see the essence of what I'm suggesting and then run with it. And he was super open to that kind of stuff. So it was just a blast.
That's really amazing to hear. We've always loved working with Adam. Our first show with him was Girl in the Red Corner, and we just loved having him back ever since. So it's really great to hear that this collaborative process came down to like same brain. That's so cool. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of like same brain, I wonder if the answer differs between you and Adam, but what was your favorite aspect of the show, and why do audiences need to see that right now?
Ooh, that's great. I mean, to me, I think, excuse me, my favorite aspect of the show was probably the juxtaposition between playfulness and seriousness.
Mm,
You know, like when I talk about what the show is about, it sounds like really heavy concepts. And I
yeah,
think that those are things that Adam is exploring, but he's exploring them in like a very theatrical, very accessible way. Um, and so hopefully, some of the uh, more, I think like sensitive elements are, or challenging elements, are a little bit of a surprise, or maybe they take us off guard a little bit because Adam has been so like playful and delightful, so, and welcoming. So I think it would be that, and it would also be the way that I think all of the design elements really supported that juxtaposition. So whether it was, using, I don't want to give anything away, but whether like it was using sound cues to like make a joke play better, and then also using sound cues to really underscore the violence of a moment, or using lighting cues to really, um, I think, like dramatize, the sort of romantic aspect of a moment, and then also the like horror of a moment, so it just
yeah,
felt like all the design was really in service to that juxtaposition, which I think is what Adam does so well. Um, and then why do audiences need to see it now? Well, I mean, to me, I think that uh, you know, I study Asian diaspora, so like I am very familiar with like a long history of anti-Asian violence, both in
mm,
legislation and in physicality or in physical acts. But I think that for a lot of Americans, usually white ones, but also folks of different races and ethnicities, um, there's sort of this monolithic understanding of the model minority and the ways in which they maybe we sometimes are invisibilized. And so I think with
oh
the
yeah,
acts of the last year and all the huge uptick that we've seen because of COVID-19 and anti-Asian hate crimes,
mm,
um, to me, this play is really important for a variety of reasons. I think it like forces us to grapple with a kind of masculine rage that we really need to, but I think it also is just a really great welcoming invitation for people to see an Asian body on stage and to like play with a large Asian man. So that would be part of why I would say, and also because like I actually think we all need to be laughing safely, if possible, in physical spaces together right now. And this is a way to do that.
yeah. So it's kind of in that same vein. It's kind of like a healing thing, laughing in the same vein together, coming together. I really like that. And in that same space, it's really interesting.
And it's kind
Uh,
of like your show, right? Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Like,
yes. Also,
like,
well, here's the transition. My show is outside. Your show's outside. I was different transition. There we go. So I wanted to know, was this like your first production since the start of the pandemic? Did I skipped a question? There we go. So this was woo. Hello, it's the end of the day. It's 11:12.
you
Let's
got it.
go.
You got it.
um, is this your first time working on an outside production? And how differently was your approach uh, for this outside production compared to like a normal inside show?
Yeah, this was my first. time working on an outside production. This wasn't my first time working on a site-specific production. I've done a number of those, but it was my first time working on like a totally outside production.
Mhm.
I think, yeah. I'm sure. Aside from like some like shitty like devised theater stuff in like undergrad, that doesn't count. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so like my first real outside
The stuff where
production.
you had to storm the quad in the middle of the day for it to be free.
Right. It's like Les Mis, but on this like small hill, like
Yeah.
a small grassy knoll.
So
Like,
that
take
one
it
doesn't
back.
count.
Right. Right. Though maybe it should, frankly. But anyway,
Maybe.
so, no. Oh God, where was I? Oh yeah, how did I have to? I mean, I think it was. I mean, it's definitely a question about lighting. You know, I think you just have to, you know, Andrew Hungerford, who obviously everyone who's watching this knows is both the artistic director and an incredible multiple, like a hyphenate designer. So he has done a bunch of outside work. And so he was like very adept and very smoothly kind of took us through that process. But I think, you know, there's just a certain amount of being like, here's what we think this cue is going to be. I guess we'll find out when we return to seeing it in the relative amount of light at some point.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I felt very confident with Andrew handling that. And then I think, you know, it's also that it's not just a matter of being outside, but it's also a matter of being outside in Ohio where you're like, a storm could happen at any moment.
Yeah.
and one did, like on opening night, it stormed for
Yeah.
a half hour until like a half hour before the show. So you know, I just really have to throw kudos to the designers because it's really, and to Henry, our technical director, because they're really the ones who were like, oh no, am I paused? Can you hear
Let's
me?
check the live stream. I think you're good on the live stream. Oh, now you're paused. Well, this pause is as good of a time as any to remind everybody that the live streaming, the video on demand version of Mongrel is available now at notheater.com/Mongrel. You can, if you are not able to see the in-person production that runs through the end of this weekend, then you can purchase a ticket to watch a video on demand version of the show starting at just $10, and you have 48 hours to watch it. That's notheater.com/Mongrel. And if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, that's where you can find the ticket link for the video on demand version. But we're not talking about the video on demand version. We're talking about the outside production that goes till the end of this week. And welcome back, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but we're streaming data off of my cell phone now, so it should be fine. Fingers crossed.
That's how you have to do it sometimes with live events.
Right? I might not be outside right now, but we still have to be flexible. 2021. Yeah. No, I mean, the designers were just all amazing, you know, like figuring out how to build things so that if it rained, it would be fine. You know, so you really have to, as a director, you have to lean on your designers and your team, and everybody was just incredible. So it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, the set looks absolutely beautiful, and in the crisp, almost fall air tonight, it was just especially beautiful when the wind would kick up and the fire would get a little steamier. So it's a very cool production to see outside. Was this your first production since the start of the pandemic? And how has the pandemic affected the way that you approach your production?
Ooh, that second half, I don't know that I would saw that. Yes. So this was not my first production since the start of the pandemic, but it was my first in-person production or like non-remote production since the start of the pandemic. So in some ways it felt like it was the first one, at least in a new vein. Yeah. How has the pandemic affected the way I approach a production? That's such a great question. I mean, I think that this might be, I guess it's approached it in a few ways. I mean, I think I've always like looked for the sort of uh, invitation and the playfulness and like the joy and like the opportunities to make jokes in work. But I think that like the pandemic has really hit that home for me now in a way where I'm like, wow, uh, it is so like I don't know, there's just so much terrible stuff going on right now, you know, that I'm like, anytime we have an opportunity to like do a little dance or like celebrate, let's do it. You know? So I think that there's like maybe an ease and like a little bit of a release with the way that I've approached work where I'm like, you know what? Um, if if everybody's healthy, then like we're making theater. It's gonna be great, you know. Um, so I think there's that, and then I think that, and this is partially the pandemic. I think it's also a lot of the conversations that I know you and know and hello, furry friend. Who is
This is
this?
Hawkins. Say hi, baby.
Hawkins. Oh my God. So beautiful. Look at that luxurious coat.
She wants to always try to sit on my very small writer's desk. And it's only about big enough for my laptop. She's a bit too
Just like,
big for it.
hello.
Always.
uh, you know, can't blame her. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I just think that we're having a lot of conversations. We, as in like the field of performance and people who are doing it professionally, are having a lot of conversations about what it means to like take care of each other and what we need to take care of ourselves to keep making work. And so I think that uh, you know, that's something that I've thought about a lot, like process and product for a long time, but I think it's been codified in a different way since the pandemic started.
I got you. I really like that. I like the aspect of bringing joy into things, especially with everything. It's hard to find that. So bringing it into the world with purpose is a really nice sentiment. Um, before we wrap things up for the night, with everything with the pandemic, was there anything that you found was a struggle with getting work done in the room? Was there anything uh, specifically pandemic focused that changed uh, that that made a new struggle that you weren't expecting?
Hmm. I don't think anything really surprised me. I mean, I think I like thought it through pretty specifically because I have a number of people in my life who have various health risks.
Mm.
And so I was like very like, what are all the things that could go wrong? Like, what are the boundaries or not boundaries, but like what is the safety protocol that like I have to set for myself and that I want to like set for the room, and how do we like set those while also still making a place where we can have fun,
Yeah.
you know, constraints lead to freedom, blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
slash intention. Um, so I don't know that anything really surprised me, but there were a couple of moments where we were playing around with things Adam could do, and we would be like, you know what? In non-pandemic times, that could be a really fun actor move, but in pandemic times, that actually might scare people and it might take them out of the performance because of blocking, it would be like getting too close, or because of dynamic moves. I love a dynamic move, but it would be like too much, or spitting water stuff. So there were definitely things that we were like, let's reel that back. But that that all made sense, and I wanted to keep Adam safe too, of course. So yeah, it was great.
I just I don't want to spoil anything, but before we wrap everything up, just on the spot, I want to know, what is your favorite moment of joy from the show?
Oh my god.
And it can be any small thing. I liked tonight I was getting off the stage and Adam addressed me and told me to get out of the way. So that was my favorite part personally. That was a fun little moment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually think that's a great example. Uh, is that Adam's actually an incredible improviser. So it felt like in the in the rehearsals and the preview and opening, even that it felt like every night he would just like throw in a little something zesty that specifically spoke to somebody in the audience or spoke to what was going on and around him or something. And so I think um, getting to build something where somebody feels confident enough that they can do that kind of like snap improvisation, and
Yeah.
also that it feels actually like within the world of the play, where
Mm,
even if it's like responding to obviously something else, it doesn't feel like we're breaking some kind of theatrical convention. That I think is just really delicious. So thank you for that perfect example, Zach.
no problem. Well, I think that is all the time we have tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca. I would also like to thank Kayla Williams for graphic design, Doug Borntrager for sound design, Henry Bateman, our technical director, and the whole No staff, Liz Carmen, Tamara Winters, and Andrew Hungerford. I've been Zach Robinson. And before we go, don't forget to head over to notheater.com/mongrel to get yourself a ticket. Mongrel runs through the end of this weekend and tickets start at just $15. And like I said up top, it is on a sliding scale. So if you want to give us $35, we would appreciate that so very much. Not in Cincinnati? No problem. We also have a video on demand copy of the show available at the bottom of the same page. So if you scroll down to the very bottom of the Mongrel show page, you will find the video on demand link. Tickets for that start as low as $10. Finally, be sure to get your tickets for the No Theater's first production back in the theater. Fingers crossed. Shock by Joseph Zettelmeyer opens Friday, October 8th, just in time for the Halloween season. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have an amazing rest of your evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Should I leave now? Are we still live?